Okay. So now, what about this number 2? Let's go to number 2. Change jobs, not careers. I have every conference, every course, every time I go to a trade show, I have some doctor who asks me about, like, well, what if I, kind of like they're looking for a non-clinical kind of career choice. What if I did this? What if I did that? And I learned one thing from this gentleman I met over 10 years ago, and he was actually a speaker at non-clinical jobs for physicians. His name is Bob Priddy, Priddy. And he worked, I don't think he does this anymore, but he worked as like a counselor for physicians who were looking for job change. And he told me something, just, 10, 13 years ago. He said, Jack, most doctors, they come and they get counseling with me. We work out a whole plan. The vast majority don't stop seeing patients. They don't leave clinical work. Because, Jack, their problem was with their jobs, not their career. Now, this goes back to training. And, if you finish like dermatology or plastic surgery, you kind of, know how your career is going to go, that you're going to start your own practice. You have to be, big into marketing and things like that. But in psychiatry, there's really no career advice in residency nor in fellowship. And why would there be? Who would be there to teach you that? The professors who work at the university? Those are the people who went to residency there and never left. Right? Now, I'm kind of poking fun at them, but believe me, a lot of these people are my friends. And actually, I just went a few months ago back to my alma mater, University of Illinois. We were kind of toasting, like one of my ex-professors kind of made a donation. He had a professorship named after him. So we went to kind of toast him. And a lot of the faculty are faculty that I actually went to residency with. So they don't know. They can't teach you what they don't know. And, staying in academic psychiatry is a fine career choice. The other thing I noticed, like when I was, I don't teach directly residents anymore, but when I was shocked that the vast majority would just join a different group practice. In fact, in Chicago, there's really one really big group practice there are more than that, but there's this one that would draw a lot of our graduating residents, and they would kind of, half the class would work for this one large group. Why? Were they such outstanding employers? No, it's because these poor residents, they didn't know what else to do. That was the default, right? If you're in some, let's say, country you've never been to and you don't know what to eat and you're afraid of ordering, you're going to kind of walk by McDonald's and go in and buy a hamburger, and then you're going to say, like, I really should not be eating a Big Mac in Hong Kong or somewhere in Singapore. What am I doing, right? It's sort of like the safe default choice. And I think the other way I want to empower you is there is such a broad way of practicing as a clinical psychiatrist. And in the last year, I had 2 psychiatrists. I don't know their ages. I would guess they're kind of like early 60s. And these 2 doctors, one a man and one a woman, told me, they got kind of tired of the rigmarole or having their own practices. They just closed it down. I think one person may have sold it. It's hard to sell practices now because of the physician shortage, because I can open up my own practice. I don't need your practice. I'm going to open one across the street, and if you leave, I'll get all your patients anyway. Or even if you're there, I'm going to get all the other patients that you can't see because there aren't 3 of you. So anyway, these 2 doctors went and worked at the VA, and they were very, very pleased, both of them. Now, I find the VA to be a very fine medical system, and there's a lot to say for it. It's very particular, of course. You have to get used to its pace, which is not lightning speed, and you have to kind of get used to its procedures because you're not going to change them really. But if you can accept those rules, it's like playing Monopoly, the game. You know, if you can play by the rules, you might win, right? So, you know, they were very pleased to, and by the way, the VA has really increased salaries because of the physician shortage. They're very happy to work 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., all right? And then, you know, and another reason that the VA is a fine choice, because then a lot of doctors start their own little side practices. So those two doctors I talked about, they were happy to get out of the rigmarole of having their own practice. But let's say you're a younger psychiatrist, young career psychiatrist. You can work at the VA while building your private practice on the side. And that's actually a really nice way of doing it, because you're just kind of doing it step by step, and you're kind of learning as you go along. I'm a big fan of what I call action learning.